Budget battle still ahead in the president's deficit reduction plan set to be released Wednesday. I'm joined by Republican Congressman Charles Boustany of Louisiana. Congressman, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jerry. Great to be with you.
All right, let's talk about that debt ceiling. That's the next big battle here. What are people like you going to require to raise that debt ceiling if you're willing to do it at all?
Well, let me just kind of harken back to my daughter Ashley, first and foremost, and explain this in very simple terms. My daughter has a credit card, and if she hits the limit on the credit card, you got to stop spending. And so that's the bottom line. What we need to do is have a very credible plan that will really pay down the debt. And I think that's what Chairman Paul Ryan has tried to do with his budget proposal.
But Congressman,
and that's what you'll see coming forward.
You're not really answering my question. Are you going to require some level of cuts in order to get what you want and in exchange for lifting that debt ceiling? Or are you going to say, hey, I don't want any debt ceiling change, we're going to keep it where it is?
No, we're going to have cuts, and this is going to be basically working through our committee, the House Ways and Means Committee, as we go forward. And this, I think, will be the order of business coming very quickly. We will have to have cuts. We will have to have something going forward. You can't just simply lift the debt ceiling because that's unacceptable. The status quo is no longer acceptable. We have to have substantial cuts, a substantial plan to pay down the debt and get our fiscal house in order to move forward with the debt ceiling increase.
Well, when you look at Friday's budget deal, the cuts there, $39 billion. It was about 1% of the total federal budget. That's not a lot. The total dollar amount sounds big, but in fact it's not. What would be a commensurate level you would like to see cut out of that 2012 package?
Well, let me first say that the action we took with a planned vote coming on Wednesday is the largest, it's the proposed largest cut, actual real cut in spending since World War II. So it's a good down payment. It's only a starting point because the real problem is in all the mandatory spending programs. These are automatic spending programs that we have to address. The biggest one is Medicare, and that's the biggest driver of our debt. And so what we need to do going forward is a real plan that will preserve the Medicare program and strengthen it, but at the same time meet our responsible fiscal goals by dropping and cutting spending. So this is something, as a physician, I can tell you I've got some insights on how we're going to do that. Paul Ryan has laid out the outline for it, and now what we have to do is fill in the details.
Well, in about 48 hours, the president himself is going to unveil his own plan for curbing entitlement spending, so that'll be interesting to see. You know, I keep harping on this debt ceiling with you. I want you to respond to something Tim Geithner said recently. He said, default would cause a financial crisis potentially more severe than the crisis from which we are only now starting to recover. Do you believe that?
Well, let me just say that a failure to move on the debt ceiling would have catastrophic consequences. I really believe that is the case. We're in a very unprecedented national security threat environment, and our economy is fragile. But our economy is also endangered by the debt. And keep in mind that the debt and the president's proposed budget, which is going to continue this same spending spree, is a threat to our national security. His own chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mullen, has said that and said it repeatedly. This is a threat to our national security and our economic security. So we have to tackle the debt. And at the same time, we have to link this to whatever we do with the debt ceiling. I agree that with Paul Ryan and others that this is the important issue of our time. Look, every family in this country has to live within its means.
Right.
It has to live within its budget. And that's what the American people want us to do.
Congressman, we're all aware of that, and we've all proven that Americans are actually better at being managers of their own budget than the White House and Congress is at managing our taxpayer dollars. But given the fight, the drawn-out, drag-out, screaming match that went on last week, how do you expect 2012, that budget, to come together anytime soon?
Well, it's going to be a fight, and that's what we're here for. We're here to be in that fight, and we're going to push and push hard. And I think we've got the American people behind us. I heard the commentary earlier by Matt Kibbe and others who have spoken before him. Look, the bottom line here is we have a serious debt crisis. It's a real crisis. It's a real problem, and we have to tackle it. And we have the strength and the force of the American people behind us on this. And when the president came out with his initial budget proposal, it was a head in the sand kind of approach. He completely denied that we have this problem, despite the fact that his own advisors are telling him that's the case. And so now he's got the American people. He wants a mulligan. He wants to, he wants to step back and try again.
Isn't it better to have him on your page wanting to make cuts as well? I mean, yeah, he's a Johnny-come-lately, but isn't it better to have him in that position?
Well, we do need him, and ultimately, to get something done, we're going to have the House, the Senate, and the President sign off on it. There's no question about it. But the bottom line is, what you're seeing are the bold proposals coming out of the House of Representatives, and we're going to push these issues very, very, very firmly, because that's what the American people want, that's what they demand, and it's imperative that we get this crisis under control.
Well, we're going to be following this budget conversation probably for some weeks to come. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure. Thanks, Congressman Boustany.
Great to be with you. Thank you.